Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be going over line work materials. So here I have a list of Sakura micron pens, of their sizes and differences. So as you can hear with the rustling, sorry about that, here I have different types of sizes when it comes to micron pens. So here they are. So let's hopefully, yeah, it sort of focuses, but not really. Okay, well, basically I'll go through them in order. So here, my thinnest one is a 0.5. Let's see if that goes on camera. Looks like this. 0.005, that is our thinnest one. This is good for detailing and also for your first pass. So what I mean by your first pass is that this will be your first layer of line work most of the time. It's good for details, just obviously very, very thin and very, very nice. Let me zoom in so we can see better. So generally this is a very nice and thin pen. Very good for, little details and delicate things, and also, as I mentioned earlier, your first pass. So most of the time when we first do our line work, we always start with this if it's like a good enough size. Like for instance, if it's a small, piece, like maybe about like 8.5 by 11 maybe, or a little bit smaller, this will be a good line weight to go for, or line size to go for. Anything bigger than that, like a big canvas, for example, would need bigger brushes, and that's because the size is relative, right? So a size 1 will look really, really small in comparison to a very tiny canvas, to a very big canvas that you're working on. So this is just, on paper and pencil. Sorry, this is paper and pencil. So this will just be on regular size paper, nothing too big, nothing too small. So this will be a good size for your usual line work. Then we have a 0.1, which is our second pass line work, meaning this is more where you want to darken areas of your thinner line. So for instance, if I have let's say if I have like a hair strand, for example, which is very, very thin right now, and I want to emphasize it a little bit, what I can go and do is zoom in. And what I can basically do is darken some areas that I want to darken. So areas like the edges here, for example. So just by doing that, it can give a next level detail that usually wouldn't really you wouldn't really be able to do with a 0.005. So, or else you'd run out of ink. So just take these into consideration. Then we have a 0.5, which is even thicker than that. So this is for just like either, if you're working on a smaller drawing, this is good for borders, or this is just good for very bold shapes or filling in things. For instance, if you have a choker that's about this size, this is a good fill marker. Or just any of the like. So this is generally a thicker brush, of course, used for just either larger details or making everything bolder. So that's what I would use it for. I don't use this as much. I use 0.1s a bit more when it comes to ordinary line work. But most of the time I use these three, one for the border, one for the just enhancing the line work or the line weight, and then this one for our main line work. I also choose thin because it's easier to fix, or it's not as bold as the other line pieces, or sorry, not line pieces, the other pens are, because the thicker it is, the bolder it is, so you don't want to risk it, right? So now we have our number 1s, which is almost like a marker tip. This is good for, filling things in really nicely. Like for instance, if you have an eye, you can just easily fill that in very, very nicely with a good amount of ink. So this is good for that. And then here we have our brush pen, which is good for accents. Now, I don't use this very often for line work because it is so hard to control. But basically, you have a thin and then you have a thick, the harder you press. This is good for just nice, hair filling, if you want to fill out your hair, the hair in your character. This is a good, nice brush to work with. Some people draw purely in brush pens. That's just more of an acquired taste. I don't do that just because it's hard. So I suggest that you guys don't do that either. If you're a beginner, if you're a pro, obviously, do whatever you want. But this is a good brush to work for in areas where it's like, where if it's necessary, nice big strokes that you want to have like a good emphasis on. Now, if you don't want your art to look a lot like Japanese or ancient Chinese artwork, then this brush is not for you. So refrain from using them if you don't want to, or if you don't like it. Better to use nice and simpler brushes than use a brush that's hard to handle. So some of the ones I did not list here is my gel pen. So let me go ahead and just make a really quick example of what a gel pen is like. This is a good pen for let's say highlights. So for instance, now I'm going to draw a little comparison here. Usually I like to leave a highlight on an eye pretty blank. I don't like to add a white gel pen on this very much, but just for the sake of reference, I will put it full. The reason why I do not put a white gel pen right on top like this with the full black is because it might change the color a little bit. But for the sake of example, I will show you guys what it's like. So white gel pens are great for highlights. They're great for just overall, like, adding little details. If you want adding more just luminance into your drawings. And once this is dry, let me check. This is not dry yet. I should not have smudged it. Let's wait until it dries first. Let's just go straight in. How about that? I think it should be good enough now. Of course, if in real time, wait for this to dry before you smudge your work and accidentally ruin it. So now let's add in our white. So this is, like I said earlier, just add it, small. And basically you'll be able to see a white patch. Of course, this is a very, very dark color. I would not do dark colors on top of, or I would not do a white gel pen on top of very, very dark colors like this. In fact, I would use a white gel pen in most cases with color pencils because those show more vibrantly. So that is another one that you guys can do. That's for a white gel pen. That's very crucial when you're coloring things in. And now we finally have, which I did not show earlier, but I guess I'll show now. This is optional. Colored gel pens. These are paper-made gel pens. These are just an optional for your pop of color. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up real quick and show you what this is like. So I should have opened this beforehand, but I didn't because I want to show you guys what the packaging looked like. So I will be right back and I will show you guys what this is like. Okay, I'm back, and this is basically what these paper-made gel pens look like. Very, very nice. I'm not sponsored, by the way. Make sure you take off the nib, if there is a nib on top. There's a little nib that's kind of like a circular motion, a circular shape, so it kind of looks like a little bubble. Make sure to take those off or you won't be able to draw anything. So, what are these gel pens useful for? Well, these are basically useful for any stuff like eyes, for example. Now, personally, I do not like using black to outline the eyes very much. I like using a pure color just because it looks more vibrant this way. And I can always show you guys later on what I mean when I color in eyes. But these have a very, very nice color to it. And of course, these are, I think, waterproof, or smudge proof. So of course, I'm going to go check it out. So far, so good. No smudge. They dry really, really nicely, and they dry really, really quickly. So if you want, you can even ink with these pens. Just be careful though, just because there's no size difference in these. So I would just mostly use these optionally. These are optional. Using these for color, like, for instance, eyes, for example. You want to outline the eyes with these colors in the best case scenario, just because it looks very cool that way. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this video on the materials that you'll need for line work. Let me know what you guys have any questions. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.